Hello, and welcome to Allegheny County Library's Let's Get Lit. This is where we talk about exciting titles so you, our patrons, can know what to read next. We will be talking about hot new titles to the library and also still burning titles, which may be older but are ones we have loved. Let's Get Lit is available in video format on the ACLS YouTube as well as in podcast format on Apple, Google, and Spotify, so you can subscribe for updates when we release new episodes. Let's Get Lit will be bi-monthly, and we would love your feedback as we do this. Contact information will be in the description as well as at the end of the episode. Any titles mentioned will have links to our catalog in the description as well. Now, let's get lit.
I'm Allie.
I'm Shane.
I'm Liz.
I'm Laura. Welcome back, Liz.
Thank you. Glad to be back. Today's topic, we are just going to talk about recent reads, things that we've enjoyed recently, and also things that we want to get to soon and upcoming titles.
I'm currently reading. I always start. I can't interrupt Shane until he starts talking, so there's no fun. I'm starting a new Civil War historical fiction series. It's called The Battle Hymn Cycle, and the first novel is Cain at Gettysburg. That's like the biblical Cain, C-A-I-N. People compare it to The Killer Angels, but it's more, Killer Angels is a bit mythologized, and it only focuses on like the generals and things. This, of course, they're in the storyline because they are the ones making the decisions, but it focuses on the individuals who are actually doing the fighting and dying, and it's a very realistic portrayal of what happens in battle. And so it's very gritty, it's very well researched, the history is very accurate. The immigrants who fought for the North and were the reason that the North ultimately won. And that is, people don't focus on that, but, that happened. And so that made me happy that he doesn't do a mythology, there's no mythology there. It's very gritty and real. It also uses terminology and things from the time period. So be warned, it's not, for the faint of heart. It describes death, what happens to bodies after they are killed by cannon, things like that. So there's 5 in the series, and I'm halfway through the second book, which is called To Hell or Richmond. And it takes place in 1 month's time where 68,000 Americans were killed or wounded in 30 days. Think about that for a minute, and we killed each other. So people wonder how the world can be so fractured. Study some history. You might figure out why. You'll have to tell your dad about it, Jane.
I will. He'll know because he watches.
Oh, he does? He's probably already read it. I would say he may. If he hasn't, I guarantee you he's heard of it. So. But
is it fiction or nonfiction?
It's fiction.
Okay.
But it's just like the Killer Angel series, but it's very it's accurately researched.
You compare that up with the new History Channel series on Lincoln. We are ordering that series on DVD.
Wow.
Good.
Yeah.
Wow. Time to talk about magic lessons, Liz.
No. I'm going to talk about the reading list. It's been out for a little while, and I'm listening to it, and it kind of reminds me.
Hang on, Liz. The title's called The Reading List?
List.
Okay, so the title of the book is
The Reading List.
Okay. I thought you were going to give us your reading list.
No.
Okay.
Well, I will. By Sarah Adams. And it's an unforgettable, heartwarming debut about how a chance encounter with a reading list of library books helps forge an unlikely friendship between 2 very different people in a London suburb. I would kind of say it seems like, not really that anybody's a curmudgeon, but the way the characters are developed, I would say maybe the man called Uva. It seems like the way Frederick Backman develops his characters.
Okay.
Different people from different walks of life come together.
I am really enjoying this
I'm sorry, what? Shane, I can't.
sci-fi horror manga series about a teenager whose bones
A teenager?
are sought out by every disreputable person in the galaxy for their supposed wish granting power.
Wait a second. Is this person dead?
No.
Well, how are they going to get their bones?
They're going to take the bones inside the living person.
Are they a bounty hunter that's trying to get them?
No, there's just a rumor going around that this teenager has bones inside him.
Of gold?
No, we don't know what they're made out of.
Myrrh?
Probably normal Together with his skeleton backpack companion,
What?
he traverses space seeking the source of the curse placed upon his bones.
His only companion is an actual backpack?
Yep,
Is it alive?
it is. This is.
Seems very similar to Chainsaw Man.
It is similar.
Okay.
I love the series mix of humor. H.R. Giger, like from the Alien series.
Yeah, I've got nothing.
As H.R. Giger as biomechanical horror and video game quest-like story dynamics. I also really like the way that every scary bad guy they come across ends up becoming part of the team.
Team building skills!
Yeah, and it's all very
I need to
humorous.
learn those clearly.
And I read 1 through 3, volumes 1 through 3 in print, available in Marina. I highly recommend it, as Ali said, to people who enjoyed Chainsaw Man. Doro, the previous series from this author, Q Hayashida.
Is that what it's called?
It's called Dai Dark, which means deep dark. D-A-I dark.
I'm currently reading When the Reckoning Comes, which is a horror story about a Black woman who goes to a plantation for a wedding, and they've turned it into a tourist attraction. And she's very unsettled by the things there, but they also are encountering ghosts of the people who worked on the plantation. And so far it has been very chilling. It's also very insightful to a lot of things that happen on plantations and nitty-gritty details and whatnot, and it is terrifying so far, so I've been really enjoying it. I've been on a horror kick lately. So.
I've got the third in the Wendy series that Stephen King, and I always say Chismar, the name of the author, I think it's Chismar is how you pronounce it. He wrote Chasing the Boogeyman, which is one of my top reads of 2021. They teamed up together to collab for this 3-book series. The first one is Wendy's Button Box, the second one is Wendy's Magic Feather, and this is Wendy's Final Task. And it's very, I don't know how to describe it. I was talking to Misty, who she works here, and she also loves the Wendy series, and it's like really hard to describe because there is a supernatural element to it.
In a Stephen King novel?
Yes, there's a supernatural element.
Shocking.
But I think the reason that I like it so much is I just like the character of Wendy so much. She's just like one of the best characters I've ever read. Her influence on like individual people's lives, but like also all of the world's lives in history is amazing, but they'll just never know. And there's some really great characters in it. And so I'm really nervous because I'm only 100 pages into this one, but like I'm very concerned for Wendy because they don't wrap up the storylines kindly to everybody. They have like their realistic, good introduction. If you have not read Stephen King or any dark stuff, it's a great because it's lovely and there are like really great characters and a really great female character. And Catherynne Ward, who wrote The Last House on Needless Street, which was my top read from 2021, just came out with another novel called The Sundial, and I got that one as well. And it's not as long as The Last House on Needless Street, and I purposely did no research on it. I don't really want to know anything about it, but that's in the system, and I have that one as well.
That's how I've been going into most books lately.
Yeah, I don't want to know.
Not looking at anything. It's like I hear someone say they enjoyed it, and then I'm just like, okay, that's all I need to know right now.
Yeah, yes.
I've been enjoying going in.
YA, it's Bluebird by Sharon Cameron. She's written several other books, but I think this is the first one I've read of hers. And it takes place in 1946, starts in New York. And the young girl, Eva, leaves behind all the rubble in Berlin for the streets of New York City. And her father was a doctor in a Nazi concentration camp. And there are all kinds of secrets that are revealed. And not only do the Americans want her father, because he's disappeared now. He's gotten out of the country, out of Berlin.
He's not with her.
No,
Okay.
He's disappeared. And so the Soviets want him and the Americans want him because they think that he has a way of using mind control on people. And that's what he wanted people to believe. Maybe he thought this would save him somehow. And the other book that I listened to was The Long Flight Home, which has been out for a couple of years.
I didn't say I've heard of that one.
It's by Alan Ladd, and it is about homing pigeons.
You know who
And there's a love story in it.
Do you know who oddly liked homing pigeons was Mike Tyson?
Really?
Yeah, the boxer. He kept them when he was a kid. He still has them. But yeah, and I think one of them, he got into a fight. He punched someone for the first time for stealing his bike because he was being bullied, and then apparently somebody hurt his pigeon, and he punched someone. But yeah, he loves homing pigeons. He keeps them. He has ever since he was a kid. Tyson's a fascinating.
He is
character.
fascinating.
And one sitting when it came out is a graphic novel by Ed Brubaker and Marcos Martin called Friday, Volume 1. This is a very short story about kids who are detectives in their small town, and it's sort of Ed Brubaker's take on a Encyclopedia Brown or Harry the Spy type situation. The author usually writes books about like hard crime stories.
Oh, gotcha.
But he always wanted to do sort of a take on a juvenile or a young adult detective story. And what he does is he brings the hard-boiled kind of edge to these kids who are really successful with detectives in their youth. Character work is really well done. Anyone who knows Ed Brubaker knows that he knows how to pump human emotion into stories and make them completely relatable. Very poignant about, growing up and coming back to a small town. And watched the movie The Kid Detective recently. You would appreciate this story. It's called Friday, named after the protagonist.
And you said that's a graphic novel.
It's a graphic novel. It's very short. It's like 116 pages.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, that's a lot of content to put into 116
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
pages.
Yeah.
So good for him.
I have two reads I'm quickly just going to talk about. I recently read Tinfoil Butterfly. This was another one I kind of picked up knowing absolutely nothing about. It's a mystery thriller, and it definitely delivers on the thriller aspect, which I think can be hard to find in a so-called mystery thriller. A lot of times they'll wait until that very last quarter and then amp it up. This is constant suspense the whole way through. It kind of feels a bit dystopian, although I don't think we're ever really told what kind of atmosphere it is. It just all feels very dystopian. And it's this young woman, she is escaping something, we don't know what. Her family life, something has gone down. We know that her beloved brother has died, and they were supposed to take this trip together, so she decides to go basically hitchhike in a way and find her own means to get to this place. So we already know that she is not the most moral character in the world, as well as we go into this. And at times, she is not very likable, but it's very reminiscent of, you go through points of not liking her, but she also goes through points of not liking herself. So we're kind of along the journey with her. But she comes across this young boy in a tinfoil butterfly mask. Mom is dead and something has happened. So she goes to this place and they end up, there is just all kinds of chaos ensues from this point forward. And her and this young boy have to survive beyond that point. If I give any more details, it will just ruin too much. But if you're looking for a really suspenseful read, this is it. It was really good. And then quickly, the other one I read is a novella, Comfort Me with Apples. I'm not going to give too much detail because this one is so short, but it's about a woman who lives in a perfect neighborhood, finds a hairbrush that isn't hers in the house, and then she starts finding other things by women. Starts finding other things within the house that aren't hers, and there's a lot of biblical references in this, which I wasn't expecting going into, but I really enjoyed it. However, I could see some people being very upset by the content matter.
A historical fiction coming out called Booth, and it focuses on the Booth family. It doesn't focus on the Lincoln assassination. That's not what it's about.
Yeah.
It's about, that they're a family of actors that John Wilkes, how he grew up, how he interacted with his family who were all performers. I mean, he was identified as the Tom Cruise of his day. I mean, that's how popular John Wilkes Booth was in America at that time. The number 1 and 2 postcard picture things that were the most popular to sell in America were John Wilkes Booth and Abraham Lincoln, oddly enough. But it doesn't just focus on that. It focuses on the family's history, how they become actors, how they interact together. And of course, the interest in that family is because of Booth assassinating Lincoln, but it looks like it's really well done. And it just seems like a very interesting. What are you looking forward to?
The Good Left Undone by Adriana Trigini. It's a novel about 3 generations of Tuscan artisans with one remarkable secret. So she doesn't come out with a book but every couple of years. And she's Italian, so
What
shout
type
out
of
to my
genre?
paisano.
What type of genre are we talking about here, buddy? Is this fiction? Is there
It's fiction.
so is there supernatural? Is there magic?
No,
nothing like that.
it's family.
Okay, so
Yeah.
family drama stuff.
Right.
Okay.
Diamond Eye by Kate Quinn, and she wrote The Alice Network and The
I was gonna
Huntress.
say, how do I know her? That's how.
Now, this is about a female sniper, and guess what she was? A librarian.
Yes.
Wow.
And
I've been
it's based
seeing-
on a true story.
I've been seeing
She's
buzz about that.
excited.
Yeah.
There's hope for him being a secret agent at some point now. Yes.
A quiet librarian becomes
Not
a sniper.
This
What
is
else can I
fiction,
say?
right?
Based on,
But it's
But it's
actual
based on an
Yeah.
actual person.
World War II?
yes. All right, so now I'm going to throw something out there. Now I have to get some help with the last name again. It's a YA, and it's I Must Betray You by Ruta
Sapetti.
Sapetti.
Don't look at me, buddy.
It's a good
I'm
book.
not gonna be.
And it's set in Romania, 1989, and communism is crumbling across Europe.
And her
And
writing
she
is always
always delivers.
So this is a historical fiction YA.
Yes.
She's
And-
also another one that doesn't come out with them very frequently, but when
Right.
she does,
But I'm just hoping that you pick me up an art copy
Oh my
at
gosh.
PLA. That's the pressure that's on you now, Allie.
it's out now. You should be able to have it in the system. I'm pretty.
I haven't seen it yet in
I
this
was gonna
system.
say it published recently.
Well,
I have.
Allie's
I
trying
haven't
to
seen it in our
nicely.
library.
Allie's trying to nicely tell you she doesn't want to bring your book.
Well, I have a
from
feeling they're
PLA.
not going to have it because it's already released.
I mean, that's a good point.
Okay, so quick. Beautiful Little Fools by Gillian Cantor. So it's a reimagining and expands on the literary classic, The Great Gatsby.
I saw
So,
that.
Atmospheric
I was
historical
wondering.
novel.
I saw that.
I was wondering when we're going to start getting Great Gatsby retellings since the rights came up last year.
Oh, really?
Oh, is that what it is? Okay. Yes, I saw that.
And another one is The Violin Conspiracy, Brandon Slocumb. Slocumb, yes. It's a mystery about a black classical musician whose family heirloom violin is stolen on the eve of the most prestigious classical music. I don't know. It's
Concert,
no.
tour,
I abbreviated this.
recording.
Yeah, no. I think it's a
Recital.
competition. I'm going to say it's a competition in the world. So I wrote, it was all the way down at the bottom.
They're accountable.
So
It's not a
this-
competition.
This has gotten a lot of hype.
We've thrown out every other word imaginable.
It's a
That
competition.
makes sense.
I'm sorry.
Competition. So you're talking like,
Well, I made it
American
so
Idol
little.
for-
I tried to fit it into the bottom of this page.
let me see this. Where is it at? Yeah, comp in the world. It's a music comp in the world.
So anyway, it has had a lot of hype. I'm waiting
It
for
has.
this to come out.
And I've heard like various people say that they're looking forward to that.
So, and it's on Libby. All the things that I recommended have been popping up on my Libby account, and then popping up over and over, one right after the other. But
Wow, convenient.
Go ahead, Shane.
I'm just going to go through a few things that I'm looking forward to, not in depth, because I can't stand the questions that come from today.
yeah, okay.
A Harley Quinn animated series, comic book continuation called Eat, Bang, Kill Tour Volume 1. The trade paperback comes out in August. I love the series on HBO, and the story continues in those comics. After the Revolution by Rob is the host of the podcast Behind the Bastards, where he gets into historical details about some of the worst people to have lived.
I listened to that. It's
Yeah.
good.
It's great. And this is his second book. This is about alternate history, sci-fi, about post-apocalyptic world. Not sure about more details about that, but I think he's a great writer, and I'm looking forward to that. It comes out in May. This book just came out, Shadowman, an elusive psycho killer and the birth of the FBI. This came out March 1st. I've heard that if you enjoy things like Mindhunter, Silence of the Lambs, you will enjoy that book. That's on my to-read.
I just listened to an episode of a podcast about the author of that book was interviewed.
Ron
and it
Franscell.
sounds really good.
Yeah. I'm seeing a lot of good things about that.
Yeah, it sounded really, really good.
And another nonfiction niche topic for me, Blood, Sweat, and Chrome, the making of the film Mad Max Fury Road. This is about the chronicles of making this film that was like 30 years in the making. Many different casts were considered, many different environmental disasters stood in the way of its production. They were planning on shooting in a desert that hadn't seen rain in decades, and then all of a sudden they were ready to shoot, and it rained and it became a fertile ground. So they had to reconsider. Lots of casting changes, very interesting behind the scenes look from what I've heard.
But the one that came out had Tom Hardy, a bunch of people, but Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the version.
Yeah, and there's a lot of behind the scenes drama with that cast as well. Kyle Buchanan is the author. And then I just want to put in a plug for a movie I'm very interested in seeing that comes out next month called The Northman. This is by Robert Eggers, who did The Witch and The Lighthouse. This is a Viking revenge saga that stars Alexander Skarsgård, where his father is killed and his mother is captured. His father's played by Ethan Hawke, mother by Nicole Kidman. This looks like a pulse-pounding, violent, historically accurate adventure.
And that's a movie?
It's a movie coming out. The cast is freaking amazing. From what I've seen, Bjork plays a witch in it,
Nice.
and it's the number one film I'm looking forward to this year. In this movie, this year has a lot of good movies coming out.
It does seem that.
I talked about a lot of books that I was looking forward to for the springtime in the last group
Me too.
episode that we did. But one coming out, it'll be out by the time this episode goes up, is the Book of Living Secrets. And this is about two girls who transport themselves into the world of their favorite book, only to encounter a sinister alternative reality when they get there. I love books where people get transported into another world from their world. I eat them up. They're my favorite. Emily St. John Mandel, who did Station 11, has a new book coming out. I think it comes out in April, beginning of April. It's called Sea of Tranquility. And I think this is about a plague that's happening on Vancouver Island and something about a colony that goes to the moon. But if you have ever read anything by Emily St. John Mandel, she does a really great job of describing characters and the relationships. And almost it's like the other parts of the story tend to fall into the background. It's just how they're kind of dealing with those. And it's definitely more about the characters and their development. And you can just really connect to a lot of them and see yourselves in these situations, even though they're kind of outlandish. So.
Looking forward to something I'm going to start watching this evening. That's not Sopranos. It's one of my favorite podcasts is called The Dropout, and it's about Elizabeth Holmes and like on the number one Ponzi scheme in recent history. Dropped out of Stanford at 19 to start a company, a tech company, and the story is just like insane. And I've listened to the podcast, and then the companion podcast is also out about her trial. And then John Carreyrou's book is also out. He's the one that like broke the story. But Hulu has done a series based on Dropout the podcast. Really, really well done. And if you don't know anything about that story, it's just insane. And the story is not concluded. It is concluding in real time as we speak. Yeah, there's a lot, like Allie said, we listed a bunch of stuff that we're looking forward to at the end of our last episode, and I'm not going to re-go over those, but if you want to see them, I listed about 5 or 6, and you listed about 5 or 6, I think Shane did too. So if you know.
Try to.
Yeah. Go look at these. Yes,
This
that's
is
the
always-
fun of the whole thing, Jane.
This is a big time for everything to start to come out.
Yeah, well, right before summer.
Summer,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for Let's Get Lit. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. If you have any questions, suggestions, or want recommendations, please contact us either in the comments section, by giving us a call, or by emailing us at letsgetlit@AlleghenyCountyLibrary.info.